College basketball, we talked last week about the undefeated teams.
Lost another one.
Lost another one. And
Nevada.
Houston seems to remain as a team, what I call under the radar. But
Right.
they've been doing a good job.
Oh, yeah. Houston is one of the few undefeated teams left and have been doing a good job. They play in a solid conference, not quite top tier with the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, but certainly one where they will be tested throughout the season. They'll be a top 4 seed before it's all said and done. They'll probably lose somewhere along the line. They've been tested a couple times already, but the one I'm looking at is this week is obviously Duke. Duke is number 1.
Never heard of that team.
Yeah,
Duke.
But they'll play their second true road game on Saturday of the season. And they hadn't played their first until after New Year. But they'll play their second true road game Saturday at Florida State. That'll be a test. If Duke is the power of the year in college basketball, that game will go a long way in showing it. Obviously, they got probably the odds-on favorite for player of the year in Zion Williamson. But if Duke is the elite of the elite, that'll start showing up by the end of the week at Florida State. And Florida State's always been a tough game for them to play.
Now, is it more or less because Florida State, because of the talent, or because of their coach?
You talking Duke, or you talking?
I'm talking about Florida State.
Oh no, they're always a tough out for Duke. That's always, if you ever notice, every year that's an ESPN TV game, every year. It doesn't matter what kind of team Florida State has, and this year they got a good one. Duke always struggles at Florida State. That's usually a pretty good game. So I would expect this one to be a good game as well. A little bit of contrast in styles as well.
Now we have other issues. Kansas.
Kansas, I think, took a big hit this week. Not only did they lose a game on the road, their second road game that they've lost this year, they also lost their center, Azubuike.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah, for real. 6'11", 270. That's a big loss because they don't have the perimeter firepower to kind of hold up without it. I don't think so. I mean, there's thought now that the Big 12 is wide open because of that. And Kansas, as you know, has won Big 12 championship 14 straight seasons. And the team that I've liked all along and finally put in my top 25 is Iowa State. They got a bunch of young kids, man, but they are good. And they beat Kansas at home. We'll see if they can do it on the road later in the season, but they beat Kansas at home. But now you look in the top 25, the only teams outside of the power conferences still in the top 25 are Nevada, which lost last week.
Right. I wanted to ask you about Nevada. We spoke on them as being one of the undefeated teams, and who would last the longest undefeated.
Well,
and I'm surprised.
I'm not if you look at that roster at New Mexico, which includes Carlton Bragg from here in Cleveland, who began his career at Kansas. Bragg had a big game in it. He 9 points, 12 rebounds in that game with New Mexico when New Mexico upset them. And they have a couple other. They got another transfer big kid from Pitt, Manigault, who's pretty good. So that talent-wise, they can walk on the court, and obviously at home, that's a big home court win for New Mexico. We'll see again how that holds up when they have to go on the road at Nevada. But the other one is obviously Buffalo, outside of the power conferences. That's still in the top 25. I'm always amazed to see my peers still voting them 20, 21, 20. It's like, okay, as soon as you lose, you're out.
Right.
Well, they've only lost once. And in the Mid-American Conference, as we know, at some point they're going to lose again, but that's not going to justify dropping them, which a lot of my peers will do. Still got them in the top 15. But it's just interesting to see how that bias still stands up. And it doesn't matter, it goes back to football. I think we talked about it in football with Central Florida. There's only so high they're going to get, with the voters. And even though they were undefeated, they never got, what was it, last week or maybe the last 2 votes that they even got up to 10, 9 or 10. They never got into the top 10 until the very, very end of the season. It's going to be the same with Buffalo.